Hey everybody, welcome back to another adventure. My name is Nick, and today we're taking a look at some ride footage from my trip out to Bentonville, Arkansas. We rode in a few places. Going to take a look at the map, some geography, take a look at that first, then we're going to get into some of the story, some of the highs, some of the lows, and some of the ride footage. Here we've got trail forks opened up for Northwest Arkansas, the OZ trails. You can see on the map here Bentonville. That's where downtown Bentonville, historical area, slaughter pen, all-American. These trails live in this area. Just north of that is Bella Vista. That's back 40, tunnel vision. A lot of great stuff happening there. Rogers is not on the map. You can't quite tell, but it's this green area to the southeast of Bentonville, not far at all. In this area, east side of the Beaver Lake here, is Hobbs State Park Conservation Area. This is where we came day one and pulled into these trails. Did 18 miles between these. Great loops, lots of fun. There's some downhill sections here where you actually have a return trail. You kind of use this connector to do either the Sawtooth or Timberjack downhill runs. Super fast, super flowy, everything's rollable, nothing too steep that you feel like you're going to go over the handlebars. We stayed in this Oak Grove town. There's a campground called Horseshoe Bend. Great campground, spread out, updated, really nice, good views of the lake. A little bit sloped of a site, so depending on what you're sleeping in, if you're gonna sleep in a tent, you might want to make sure that that particular campsite you pick has a nice flat spot for you. We made do with what we had, but it was a great site. We did not do any riding here in Rogers or in Bentonville because of the rain. It had rained quite a bit when we got there, so we ended up riding Hobbs, which was before the rain, and then the back 40 and tunnel vision for day 2 and day 3, each grabbing 25 to 30 miles a ride. Well, we're out here on the back 40. Rained quite a bit last night, and we're expecting more today. So this is considered the wet ride trail, something along those lines. It's a little bit more conducive to wet conditions, so we're staying off some of the other stuff. This is a cool spot. We pulled over just to take a look. Nice little lake rather, over this way. We're about 5 or 6 miles in, already peeling layers off. It's about upper 40s and gorgeous. No wind, so you're not getting cut to the bone. Bikes are a little wet, that's all right. Brent and Rick are doing good. Everybody feels good. We've got another 3 days ahead of us, so we'll catch you guys later. So this spot was actually super cool. We were headed through this giant gully ravine. It was really wide open. They had some cut down some of it for power lines or electrical lines or something, and we were cruising down at least 50% of this, and I was just grinning ear to ear. Couldn't believe this trail that we were on. It was unlike any of the other trails we were hitting, and it wasn't until we were halfway down that I was like, it just kept going. I needed to film it. A lot of the time I was trying to do my best to figure out, is this a trail that's worth filming or not? Should I save the space on the SD card and the battery or not? And this was definitely one halfway down. I should have just turned around and started from the top. It was that good. So let's take a look here. Sending it super fast. It was on this ravine. Obviously you can see there's a bit of a creek or a middle of it, and you're up here on the side. Some of it was off camber, so it was a little dicey.
so fast. You can see looking ahead, I've got my riding partner Rick ahead of me. Brent was ahead of him, and I wanted to provide a little bit of space between us so that I could really let loose, open up the brakes if I wanted to.
A little gnarlier there.
Some of the trails here were actually really beautiful. We were here in early spring. It was actually second or third week of April, and most of the trees weren't blooming at all. There were a couple special ones. They were really purple and really white. You'll see a couple of those in some of the clips that were budding and blooming, really pretty, but still heavy remnants of fall and winter. A lot of leaves. It had rained a ton in this weekend. I'll maybe share some of that story shortly. So I apologize for some of the wind noise. It wasn't until after this trip that I realized some of the microphone and speaker ports on the GoPro take in like a microphone, whether it's a speaker port or not. And so I started putting some of the wind socks on just about every single hole on the GoPro to cut down on some of that wind noise. And before this trip, I had only put it on the directed microphone port. Obviously, it wasn't everything I needed to be doing to cut down that wind noise.
Jeez.
This footage here is from our third day. We were hitting up tunnel vision. Most of the trails were completely saturated except for some of these back 40 tunnel vision cross-country trails. They're known as the wet trails. You can ride them in just about any condition. You're not going to leave any damage or ruts or washouts, as opposed to some of the other trails that are mostly maybe more heavily dirt and clay. We had met up with some riders from our neck of the woods, actually, down in Bentonville. I traveled down there with some local friends, Brent and Rick, and they had the heads up that the R Bikes team out of the south side of Chicago, Richard's Bikes over in Palos Heights, I actually used to work at that shop. Their race team was visiting, had bought an Airbnb. A bunch of people were down there doing some races in Fayetteville and some of the more local trails to that area. And the ones that weren't racing, we hooked up with on our third day to do some rides together. Super cool people. Would love to meet them again and ride with them again. And they're actually from the south side of Chicago, so I'm sure I will. I've actually seen a few of them out on the local trails myself. They were no joke. These guys ride day in, day out, all season. Seasoned mountain bikers, absolutely crushing it on the descents and climbs, leaving me in the dust. I was only but second to last in the pack, and it was definitely a long day of playing catch up with those guys, especially considering our maintenance issues. This day was exceptionally difficult with maintenance issues. I'm riding a fully stocked YT Izzo Pro and did not consider how much chip and rock and sharp terrain I would be riding on. And my tires got completely sloshed, slashed, ripped, torn. I had small punctures, big punctures. I had shark teeth looking rocks penetrating through my sidewalls. We had slow leaks. We had bacon strips popping out. At one point, I had to wrap athletic tape around a bacon strip as well as a gear tie. If anybody has ever seen or used a gear tie, it's basically a reusable like sandwich bag tie, but obviously meant for heavy duty use. I had used one of those to wrap around my tire to keep the bacon strip in so that we could just make it back to the trailhead. It was exceptionally difficult. Probably every other descent there was a 10 to 20 minute setback in terms of maintenance problems. Rick's chain had snapped. We had to pop out a set of links and attach it back together. Brent had half a dozen tubes that he went through. I know Daniel had popped a tire at least once. I was having incredible issues with my dropper post. My trigger, my thumb trigger, had started to fray along with the cable, and I was losing tension. So anytime I wanted to drop my seat post, I basically had to really kind of provide extra pressure on the seat and kind of like send my body weight downward and really swing the thumb trigger far enough so that it would actually actuate and sit. That was a huge pain. Anytime you really wanted to function properly, you couldn't. It was always on your mind that something was going to go wrong. Did I mention that it rained? We had so much rain. It poured on us while we rode. It poured on us while we were at our campsite, sleeping. Everything was drenched. You were cold. It was probably 40 plus, somewhere in there. In all honesty, though, this trail was exceptional. I've never been to Bentonville. I've never seen such huge trails like this, a massive trail system. Some of the bigger trails I've seen are Marquette and Brown County. This is definitely probably number one on the list in terms of magnitude and distance traveled to do a mountain biking trip, and I absolutely cannot wait to go back. It was a blast. These trails were incredibly well made, super fun. The terrain was interesting to ride. The scenery and the woods themselves were gorgeous and beautiful. It was really exciting to go here, see it for the first time, see what the hype was about, and barely scratch the surface of what's possible out there in Bentonville. I'm glad I finally got to release this video. I've been sitting on it for quite a while. I've been dealing with some incredible technical difficulties. I'm sure I've shared a couple times already that the resolution in some of my videos and my past few videos have been really poor, and it was due to a setting in Final Cut Pro that I didn't know that I had to select. It was as easy as clicking a drop-down menu and clicking on 4K. I thought I had done that. I had checked all sorts of boxes, done all sorts of research, had even contacted a videographer friend of mine that works for a international company in their marketing department, and he couldn't crack the code. It just took some serious trial and error. I had uploaded 24 videos, trying different settings, finally got it through and was able to put together the last of the footage from Bentonville. Moving forward, I've got some more. I actually did a second trip to Marquette back in July. I want to put together that footage. I have some local trails and footage from those rides, and I really hope to sneak in one more trip this fall, either to Brown County or back here in Bentonville. I have an opportunity to go in late November. So if that works out, really stick around, take a look at some of the videos. Appreciate you guys watching and sharing with those that you think would enjoy the videos. We'll see you on the next one.